get to talk to those that are really directing the dollars. And the conversation of today is really about cross-screen monetization and sort of investment, right? Where are we? Where are your clients, the CMOs that you're talking to on a daily basis? Where are we as far as looking at sort of planning and buying from a ubiquitous perspective, specifically being channel agnostic? The screen doesn't matter anymore, right? Are we there?
No. Okay. I had a wonderful interview with a director of digital in a CPG company. This is probably about a year ago, and we were talking about this transition and where it was. And what he said is, there are decades of incentives and processes that will have to change before we're fully there.
Is there any motivation for change? Because if I look at
there's motivation now because it's very clear that the consumer is not sitting still. You know, all these processes and ways of doing advertising are pointed to that consumer sitting in front of a TV in their living room, and they're not there anymore, or at least not there as much. And marketers are getting that, and I think you will hear this bifurcation of discussion around, yes, screen doesn't matter and consumers are everywhere, and so we need to be where consumers are. And then when it comes down to how do we put that into a plan, those CMOs and all are still measured by, well, what is your, have you gotten an efficient CPM on that? And what are the GRPs you're delivering? Which, if you step away from that, if you could come with a completely clean slate, if this were 1950 and we had all these capabilities, we wouldn't have designed the world we're in now.
So let me ask you a question. Is it that marketers don't, that the C-suite and sort of our brand clients need more marketing savvy, or that agencies in the media industry need more business savvy?
You said you weren't going to ask an A or B question.
Well, technically I didn't tee it up as A or B, so. I mean, because it's interesting, right? I mean, if I'm the C-suite at a Fortune 100 brand, I'm kind of driven by my P&L, but we don't talk a lot about the P&L in our in the dialogue around media and advertising, right? So what's the happy in between?
Well, I think that's where tools like attribution and market mix modeling come into play, because you can't use those tools effectively unless you start asking some of those more business-oriented questions. What are we modeling? Are we modeling revenue lift? Are we modeling share? Are we modeling profit? Those are business, questions, not advertising questions. We're not modeling GRPs. We're not even modeling reach and frequency. So I think we will see the marketing profession be drawn, as we get more quantitative, be drawn more into those business discussions and putting that up front, certainly with our C-suite colleagues, and then having to, again, draw that bridge back to, okay, to deliver that business outcome, what are the communications and advertising and marketing strategies and tactics that feed into that?
You guys, I don't know if you've already published it or you're getting ready to. I just had the privilege to sort of read the highlights of an interesting sort of insight you have around time shifting, right? And specifically the DVR. And this is very interesting to me because obviously measurement is greatly impacted as to what window it's viewed. But this whole, media companies, programmers, broadcasters, how the heck do they drive audience now, right? Because you used to just put a premiere after the last episode of a season, right, to drive new audience. But how do you monetize it? How do local affiliates, when they can only monetize in first run? This is a huge disruption from the industry. But time shifting at least feels like it was at a place where we were familiar with the behavior. And what you found is that actually, no, it's kind of going to change even more. Where are we in with that?
What's very clear, looking at consumer behavior now, is time shifting is a fact of life. One of the headlines in the report is mixing these different sources of linear DVR online. That's the norm now. The norm is not linear TV viewing anymore. And from the consumer point of view, it's astonishing to see how strong that storytelling and the content is. And they don't really care what device, what source, whatever it comes from. They just want it there, when they want it, on the device they wanted in the place they wanted. And so that's where the DVR is actually quite vulnerable right now. What I found in my research was that DVR penetration has kind of plateaued. It's going up slowly, but I think mainly because the cable and satellite guys are stuffing more DVRs into people's homes to justify their higher prices. But in terms of usage, 25% of people with DVRs say they don't watch anything on their DVR in a typical month. And another 30-ish% say they watch maybe 5 shows a month. So at some point, is that worth the extra $5 or $10 a month? Especially as you can get more online. And I think killing off the DVR would be the best thing the industry could do right now.
Is that because you want to pay $10 a month, or?
No, it's because we're having these ridiculous discussions about, is it C3, C7, C28, blah, blah, blah. You know, why are we doing that? Why not just deliver it online, you know, insert the ad to the audience who's watching it, and, you know,
because that's
stop
really
having
hard.
these discussions. It's hard.
It's hard technologically,
but
and it can't be done over copper.
We put people on the moon, for goodness sake. Come on, we can do this. But I think that's also one of these things, this transitional thing, one of these old mindsets that we're stuck in, that when you're talking about how do you build audience, the way we think about building audience is, I have this show that's at this time on this station, how do I get an audience there to watch it right then? When the transition we will go through over the next, I don't know, it may take 10 years for the industry, I don't know, is people are sitting there watching something on some device through some source, and they don't care what source they're watching on. Why do I as an advertiser care? If I want, you know, women 18 to 35 with, you know, 2 kids and a household income of $60,000, how much context? Okay, there's some value to that, but do I really care that much that I have to be on this show at Thursday night at 8 p.m. on NBC? Why? Why do we care?
So this is a great segue to Andrew, because my mind's swirling. I don't know about yours. I mean, so this is real. So we're working as an industry, okay, to try to allow for parity in acquisition and planning, right? So how important is timestamping? You know, if an eyeball is 24 hours later in the same place, same channels, same distributor, same everything, you know, except it just happened to go from C6 to C7 or C7 to C10, how's OCR account for that?
So I think OCR, it kind of takes the opinion, if you will, right, that an eyeball is an eyeball. Right? So we're not necessarily breaking it down the way Jim was talking about, timestamping. I think where it becomes really important, and I think where in digital we have a lot way to go, is managing inventory. So the sense of inventory. And that's why you timestamp on TV, right? Because you have a finite set of inventory and you have to figure out how to mix things around. That's something as a digital industry we're still getting our arms around.
Okay, so is still at the end of the day, are we still at a place where it is, for programmers and broadcasters, it's all about making the TV inventory and GRPs more valuable? I mean, is there really ancillary or secondary or tertiary income streams like P&Ls, like digital or mobile? Are they really important, or is this just all coming full circle?
Oh, absolutely.
How do we amplify television, prop it up, make it more valuable, and still run our dollars through that?
I don't think it's a matter. So I think you have to differentiate, right? You talk TV as if it's just old school TV on a TV set, right? But if you're watching, you know, Modern Family online, that is still TV. That is the same program, right? So I think from the television companies, what they're looking at is how do you actually look at your content and your experiences across all these different lenses and incorporate it into one thing, right? Because it is in a lot of ways. So
Amanda, do your clients think that's TV? Do they just buy a TV ad if they watch it on, you know, ABC.com?
They're pivoting to they're buying content and they're buying audiences, and in essence, that's what you distill TV down. Time of day may matter if it's a retailer, if there's certain sales patterns that need to align to that. But I think you're already seeing networks really reframe what their business is from it's a TV model, and it's all about driving volume through that, to we're about content and how do we make our content discoverable and how do we build audiences. Dave Poltrak with CBS recently said they're spending more money promoting DVR and binge viewing viewing of their shows so they can start to build audiences for the new programs versus tune in at a certain time. And that's a real shift for them. And I think you see that across all the networks, as well as seeing all the networks starting to embrace Twitter and Amplify as a way to understand social behavior with their programs to make their programs more discoverable and build those audiences.
How important is the construct of time in a pure cross-screen sort of channel agnostic world, right? I mean, how important is time? Does it matter when, how, on what screen?
It matters for the marketer as a factor of the experience they're trying to create to drive sales or to connect with their audience. So, I mean, time is a factor certainly in the Super Bowl of being at that point where people are talking about their commercials, their products, they're in the moment, they're surrounded by family. That's a context and time, so that does matter.
Are we going full circle to like relevance being events, sports, news? Like, I mean, is you know, I'm sort of taking a leap of an inference there. But
are we live or not live? Yeah. And is that really the two worlds that we live in? Maybe.
Okay, so that was binary again, wasn't it? I'm sorry.
Again, I think we're looking at the question through the old lens instead of looking at the fact that, what is it, 4 hours a night people are watching television, roughly. Our data shows that we look at it on a weekly basis, so let's call it, I think our data is something like 13, 14 hours a week on average. It's now, say, well, if you take your millennials, it's about 10 hours linear and 4 hours online. I'm Macy's. I'm running my Halloween weekend sale this weekend. I need to hit a whole bunch of people Wednesday, Thursday, Friday while they're planning their weekend. Do I really care whether that's online, linear? I care if it's on a DVR and it's, instead of being on Thursday night, it's Sunday night. All of a sudden that exposure has no value to me.
But they're fast forwarding that out anyway.
What I want is that audience during this time period. That's what I want. And as long as we're shackling ourselves around, I have to be on this content, we're gonna be inefficient.
Yeah, but I do think we need a moment of levity here, right? Because being a CMO is pretty freaking hard. Like, I just think we need that moment of pause to have a little bit of reverence for our clients and for sort of this industry, right? Because this is a multivariate equation that we don't eliminate variables, we just keep adding them, right? So in that regard, I think we can see why we're at a point in time in the industry. So, awesome. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, guys.